The day lizards become women. I mean, the day women become lizards. I mean, okay, look, obviously we're not on some Scientology shit. Fluorite is a girl who is also a lizard, and when you look at her tail, she hits you with a, if there's any reason you'll play this game, it's because of her or my favorite Valley Girl. Now that I have your attention, Arknights Endfield is a video game, and in today's video, I will be explaining to you in great detail why Arknights Endfield is one of my favorite anime gacha games I have ever played. But this isn't an official review or anything, and to be honest, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's a couple issues with this game, and I plan to get into them. My name is Braxophone, but you can call me Brax, and this video is in fact sponsored by Arknights Endfield, which is really funny because that means somebody at the Griffline studio had to sit through this entire schizo post. You might be asking yourself, what is Arknights Endfield even about? And the TLDR is, Arknights Endfield is about an Endman or Endwoman whose goal it is to stop the oncoming apocalypse and manifest destiny. Wait, that's not quite it. Arknights Endfield is a game where you build a huge factory and get sniffed by anime girls. Nope, not that either. Arknights Endfield is a game where you meet fluent-speaking Italians. Fuck it, I give up. When you log in, you're greeted by a catastrophic sequence of events, and surprise, you have amnesia. I can't remember what other games that's happened in.
Finally awake.
The blow is quickly softened, though, when you see how many free gacha pulls are in your inbox. You arrive in Italy. You arrive in Valley 4, which has a station in the hub. In that area, you learn about your important status as administrator. Most of the story afterwards is just about how badass you are and how much power you have that you don't remember. I'm not really gonna get into the story much because I want you to experience it for yourself without spoilers. But I will say that compared to CBT1, there is a lot more content in CBT2, including more story and more regions. One of the first things that I noticed about Enfield was how different the world felt from every 3D gacha I've played before. It feels very JRPG inspired, where it's open for you to explore, but not exactly unguided. It still wants to lead you places and allow you to discover things down those paths. But it also has a beautiful art style, and the lighting is icing on the cake that really makes everything shine, including the characters. These characters have some of the best looking anime 3D models I have ever seen. Arknights has always been known for its amazing character designs, and Enfield should be praised for it too, because these characters are gorgeous. There are a mix of 6 stars, 5 stars, and 4-star characters. They have something for everybody in this game. Cute girls, cute men, hot men, hot men, hot men. Aside from the main character, Enfield's characters are all part animals, enough to contribute to their own designs in a positive way, and not always enough to make it weird. Well, most of the time. The characters' designs complement their kits, and each character's kit is unique. All of the characters' kits and designs make combat feel very cool. Enfield's combat is a breath of fresh air in a genre that's currently plagued by games all doing the exact same thing over and over. You see, the game's combat is very simple in its execution. You have essentially what is 2 buttons, your abilities and your combo skill button. But rather than to make combat centered around one on-field character spamming their abilities over and over, Enfield is more focused on team play and team building. All of your team is on field at the same time, and to activate skills you have to wait until you have enough skill points, otherwise known as SP. SP is gained over time by nailing a perfect dodge or by using other characters' abilities that grant SP. Because your actual player's skill affects how much SP you get, the higher skilled players will play faster and see higher damage, and it's not just about the order you press buttons in. Enfield is less about strict rotations and more about how you build your team and how you react to different situations. It feels very different from other 3D gachas in this respect. It's more similar to a game like Xenoblade. Everything in Arknights Endfield is about efficiency and finding ways to automate, and if you team up the right units, you can make the combat go from a slow spam left-click game to a fast-paced caffeinated cameraman simulator. Overall, Enfield's combat operates a lot like its factory system. If you put in the time to understand combo skills and team building, the teams basically operate themselves. Combat only makes up like 10% of the gameplay in this game though, and a lot of it's by spending stamina, since that's how you get materials to progress your characters, just like other gacha games. If you run out of stamina though, there's plenty of world to explore, or you can eat cancer rocks to get more stamina. One of the cooler things about Enfield is how they handle endgame progression, with your characters maxing out at level 99. I don't know what it is, but I feel way more like I'm playing an actual video game when the cap is 99. The real endgame though is farming essences, which are essentially mods for your weapons that give stat bonuses. By combining them, you can increase the stats, and they're not fully random or anything, since you can go to farm them and choose specific stats to look for. And if you're a fan of war crimes, you can place a million turrets right where the enemies spawn. The other 90% of the game is a combination of world exploration, story, and factory, the latter of which a lot of people are probably going to hate. But I don't. In fact, thanks to Enfield, I've discovered my favorite brand of autism hyperfixation. The factory is how you can get unlimited of everything except for character-specific progression items. These items include, but are not limited to, healing items, character gear, and more cancer rocks. But to first to begin your multi-billion-dollar mass production regime, you need to mine some rocks, and then make a mining rig, which will deliver you more rocks. Then you refine some rocks, make some equipment, mine some more rocks. Put it in the equipment. Grab the new rocks. Get another outpost. Submit the rocks to that outpost. Make some more mining rigs, but these ones need electricity. Uh-oh, now you need to make electricity.
See something cool?
Time to turn rocks into electricity. Then connect the pylons. New pylon. Connect pylon. Repeat until you're a miner again. Mine the new rocks. Make more equipment. Put the rocks in the equipment. Refine the rocks. Grab the old Combine them with the new 50 times. And congratulations, you have created green tier gloves. But don't forget, you are the CEO of whatever's going on here, so you can keep your employees working indefinitely to crash the market with oversupply. Because the factory must grow, and as you continue to grow the factory, you will unlock more tools to make it more efficient and create even better items. There is no stamina tied to character gearing. The only things limiting you are the stock market and the amount of work you put in. Except not even that's true, because you can just copy someone else's blueprint they post online and skip the whole factory part if it's not your kind of thing. It's like capitalism, except you can take full advantage of it regardless of whether or not you were born in the 1900s. Speaking of capitalism, let me introduce you to one of my favorite pastimes, day trading. In Enfield, there are many different currencies, and one of them is stock vouchers. These stock vouchers allow you to do crazy things like expand your factory space, give gifts to your imaginary girlfriend, and my favorite, market manipulation.
You jerk off.
Buy low, sell high is the name of the game, but in this world, you don't have to worry about waiting for the price to go high again. You can just go to your friend's world where the prices are high instead and totally and completely obliterate their stock market.
Go fuck yourself.
I would not recommend doing this in real life. There are other ways to get V-Bucks as well, but I'm going to save that and the other 10,000 things I didn't mention in this video for a guide in the future. I'm going to knock that list down to 9,999 things now and talk about the Gacha, which, as all things are in this video, is subject to change. The Gacha in Arknights Endfield operates like all other 3D Gachas, but with a twist. You still have a 50-50 with a 0.8% chance at a 6-star, and there's a hard pity for a 6-star at 80 pulls. However, if you go to 120 pulls on a banner, the rate-up character is guaranteed. This is a lower cost than many other 50-50 Gacha games on the market, but this also means in order to make sure you don't miss a character, you need to save up 120 pulls, because on the next banner, that 120 counter will be reset. However, the pity for a 6-star stays the same, meaning if you spend 50 pulls on a banner, you will be 50 out of 80 pulls to a 6-star on the next banner, but 0 out of 120 pulls to the guaranteed character. The saving grace in this system is that 6-star characters remain on the next 2 banners following their debut, meaning that if you don't get Levitate on her banner, the next 2 banners after will have a chance to drop her still, even though she won't be rate up, which is far better than the characters disappearing forever until a rerun with no other chances to get them. Another positive about Enfield's Gacha is that every drop is a character, rather than getting random weapons between. This means that your 4-star characters will all get max copied pretty easily, and some of them are really strong, at least right now, as of making this video. Also, if you spend 60 pulls on one banner, you get a free 10 pull on the next banner, so kind of like a rebate. Now, speaking of weapons, the weapon banner is really weird, because the way you get currency is tied to the character gacha, but to be honest, I kind of like it. Pulling on the character banner gives you weapon banner currency, with a 6-star giving you 2,000 of it. However, you don't have to pull a 6-star character to get currency, that's just the highest amount of currency you'll get per character. The weapon banner costs 1980 of that currency to do a 10 pull, and every 40 pulls you are guaranteed a 6-star weapon. The drop chance of a 6-star is 4%, and every time you hit it, it's a 25% chance to be the rate up. Essentially what this means is that you're guaranteed to get some character signature weapons over time, and even more than that, you'll get a ton of usable weapons just by pulling on characters. On top of that, the acquisition center where you pull for weapons also has a rotational shop where you can just buy weapons straight up. Even though you might get less of the characters you're looking for, those characters are more likely to feel complete, and even if you miss their weapon, you'll likely have some sort of strong substitute. I would rather hook my nipples up to a car battery than roll another 50-50 in a gacha game though, so even though I think the positives do outweigh the negatives as far as this specific game's gacha goes, it still really bothers me. For players who play gacha games and don't usually get character weapons, I think this will be exciting, but I don't think that applies to everyone. I'm not saying this gacha is the worst thing in the world. In fact, compared to other 3D gacha games, I think it's actually quite good, but I definitely think it could be better, and at the same time, they could still make enough money to buy an entire country. Thus, I do think the gacha may turn away some players who are really looking forward to this game, which is a shame because the game is really fun. There's nothing I'd rather be doing than manifesting destiny and letting hot women degrade me. How did that get through? I will say though that the game is still in beta, and usually these kinds of builds are pretty far out from what the actual game is gonna be like, even if the beta is close to the release of the game, so hopefully things turn out better. Arknights Endfield isn't for everybody, but it has something for everybody. For some players, it has Arknights character designs, for others it has a complex factory system, and for me, it has midriff. The world is beautiful, the music perfectly matches the vibe, the characters look amazing, there's tons of content, and the combat is fantastic if you take the time to read character kits. So I guess maybe it's not for gacha players. But all of these things are why I'm so excited for Arknights Enfield, and why it's probably one of my favorite anime gachas I have ever played. At the end of the day, it's still a gacha game, so you're still getting shafted, but with these character designs, I don't know that I would really mind getting shafted. Pre-register for Arknights Endfield down below. The link's down below.